showings were displayed. Head over to gpl.garena.com. We've got stats there, VODs there, all the kind of information you need to catch yourself up on the league. Head over there, as well as the Garena Singapore for the VODs themselves. Alright, we're jumping into picks and bans between the Saigon Jokers and the Jakarta Juggernauts. As we mentioned, just a bit of a recap, a little bit of a storyline for these two teams. Saigon Jokers, while they are sitting at the top of the table, only 2 points separate them from the rest of the pack. So they really want to take this game and split ahead or get a greater margin on their opponents. Jakarta Juggernauts themselves, not gonna lie, ladies and gentlemen, having a very, very rough run through the spring split so far. Haven't even been able to find a draw. So it is a David and Goliath matchup, if you will. And it looks like Saigon Jokers are taking out some of the wild cards or champions that will perhaps be a little bit tricky to deal with. Rek'Sai, Fizz, and one last ban. I mean, of course, we've seen Rek'Sai absolutely dominate the jungle. We are playing on the 5.2 patch, so the numbers have been tuned somewhat for Rek'Sai, but nevertheless, a lot of outplay potential, a lot of map control can come out from that champion, so that's been taken off the table. Rumble, another big team fighting champion that Luffy has liked to play on the side of the Jakarta Juggernauts. He's not going to get his hands on that, and that will, of course, cripple the team fight composition of Jakarta Juggernauts should they choose to run such a composition. Lissandra being the last ban that has been played by both the mid and top laner on the Saigon Joker side. That's, of course, a flexible pick that we've seen ever since the start of the season. Nothing new there. Xerath, of course, a champion that finds his way onto the ban list every now and then, just due to the fact that he features very, very well in multiple compositions, has long-range poke. Once it gets late into the game, has insane burst as well. So we'll have to see, of course. There we go. The Gnar, that gets through. After all, we were just showing you the statistics on the infographics. Gnar, pretty much the second most banned champion. That's been taken away, or rather, that's been sealed by the Jakarta Juggernauts in their first rotation of picks. But Jarvan as well, most picked champion in the GPL so far, even on the ban list, has made his way on the ban list every now and then. SAJ will be very, very happy to take that for themselves. So let's see, what is the reply for Jakarta Juggernauts? Giving away arguably the strongest jungler in the meta currently. They pick up both Gnar, a very strong pick in the top lane, as well as Crusher's Thresh. Very, very interesting pickup right there. Of course, Thresh, we really see him fall off a little bit in the meta. Champions that have been more favored are the likes of Janna being hovered over. A little more reliability, you have to say, in terms of her ability to disengage fights, to reset fights, if you will, much more so than even Thresh with his zone potential. Let's see what else we have on the table for SAJ. They're really taking their time with this one. Maybe perhaps we'll see a mid lane pick, although it has been known that they saved that for a counter pick, of course. It looks like it is going to be the Mundo. That's something that teams, especially in the GPL and even other regions, have really started to find a bit more success on. Mundo able to soak up a lot of damage, deal very well with just being an immovable rock in the top lane, able to regen himself the moment he hits 6, unable to really push him out of lane. Does a good amount of damage even. Split pushing, you have to say, once he gets that E going and just able to chunk down with his enhanced auto attacks. And so far, nothing too much revealed on both sides in terms of a composition really coming together, and both teams taking their own sweet time to really gather their compositions together. And you'll soon be joined by a very handsome, schmexy voice. My co-caster has arrived at last, and we are ready to rock, ladies and gentlemen.
That is right, we are ready to rock with Saigon Jokers going up against the Jakarta Juggernauts here, who, if I'm not mistaken, have yet to pick up a single game.
That's right.
Yet to pick up a single game here in the Garena Premier League. But nothing to worry about. We did see the Bangkok Titans, when they first joined the GPL, drop 32 games straight before taking down the Giants Taipei Assassins at the time. So we can always see an upset from them going up against Saigon Jokers, who are arguably one of the giants in the Garena Premier League right now as well.
Very, very true. After all, BKT, I think, is that team that many of the new or even struggling teams, new or not, in the GPL will look up to and say, hey, you just have to hang in there, struggle through a little bit, and then sooner or later you'll find success. Now, Graves being hovered over, and I think really in the meta, especially after Lucian numbers have been hit a little bit, Corki as well, even though they're just slight number changes, Graves has really come into his own. Just a lot of front load damage he can unload the moment the team fight breaks out, and that'll be very strong for them if they lock in, especially with the Jays. I can just imagine SAJ bursting people down right as the fights kick off.
That's right, and Graves comboed up with Jarvan as well was a huge threat potential, especially with the Cataclysm into collateral damage combo. That's going to be a huge amount of AoE damage being dished out onto the side of the Jakarta Juggernauts.
There we go.
At the same time, Sue locking in the Jace pick, most likely going on over to Carrot. That's going to be dishing out the damage from afar as well with the Shock Blast Acceleration Gate combo.
Yeah, that is definitely going to be a very flexible a very flexible composition coming out from SAJ. I think it's interesting to see this because I remember SAJ in the past was the team that liked to run a lot of long-range poke. Nidalee, Caitlyn, Jace as well. Seems like this time they've stacked the cards a bit more on the burst side. As you mentioned, Jarvan getting into the heat of it all, following up with the accelerated Shock Blast as well as the Graves ultimate, just blasting apart a team that is honestly looking quite fragile. I mean, Gnar takes a while to get to that point where he is quite unkillable, and I think Jakarta Juggernauts might need to be a little bit aware of that. Azir, Jinx, even Elise, I think, very, very squishy targets.
On top of that as well, Gnar has to be in his Mega Gnar form in order to be tanky. While he is in regular Gnar form, he's not tanky at all. He doesn't have those extra resistances. He doesn't have the advanced skills that you see on Mega Gnar. He's not able to get up close and personal and dish out a ton of damage into the team of Saigon Joggers here. On top of that, like you said, Apple picking up the Birdman Azir here with a Jinx, Thresh, and an Elise in the jungle, something which we don't see very often anymore.
Yeah.
This is a very squishy lineup, which Dr. Mundo, Jarvan, Jace, Graves, and even Janna would have a great time dealing with. They would have no problems whatsoever.
Yeah, I really do have to worry for the Jakarta Juggernauts. Just taking a look at some of the statistics, after the Rumble was banned out for Luffy, he has not played Gnar ever in the GPL Spring Split. This will be his first showing on it. Likewise, we take a look at the Jinx being brought out by Rofens. This is the first time competitively these two players are bringing out champions that arguably, the composition that SAJ is bringing, they might have some trouble with. I do think that 2J's pickup of the Elise is to help his laners, get that leg up. But I have to wonder, going up against, a Jarvan in the jungle, pretty much, arguably, again, the strongest jungler in the meta currently, whether or not that'll be a successful strategy, I have to worry because it feels that Jakarta Juggernauts, if they don't get their lanes going, I mean, I know it sounds like a silly thing to say, but really, I mean, I have to wonder how comfortable these players are on these champions. Again, Gnar, very, very high skill champion. And Jinx with her immobility, I have to worry, might just get blown up right away.
So although Luffy has not played Gnar in the GPL so far, it is definitely a champion that he's very comfortable on. He practices Gnar in the Indonesian solo queue quite frequently. He is quite a terror on that Gnar in the top lane as well.
Nice.
I know Apple as well playing Azir. He is very, very comfortable with that champion in the mid lane, both in competitive play and in solo queue as well. Picking up Elise is going to be very interesting as well because he's played it once in the GPL so far.
Yeah, that's right.
He's played it once in the GPL. Didn't have a great showing on it, but it's one of his pocket picks, one of the picks that he likes to throw out here and there, and it is something that he's definitely comfortable on. Rofen and Cruiser in the bottom lane though, this is going to be very interesting with Jinx being picked up.
Yeah, it's almost as if, when Jinx first came out, a lot of people looked at her immobility and they said, all right, let's pair her with somebody like the Thresh, almost like the Twitch play, give that hyper carry the ability to peel, the lantern for the safety and all that. But it seems like that's fallen out of favor a little bit, and people have gone for the Graves, when Lucian was still very strong, just for the upfront burst. But I think once you get Jinx to that late game point, I mean, her burst literally comes from 2 or 3 auto attacks, whereas Graves still needs to go into that short range. And again, Apple on his Azir will be able to provide that zone, so will Cruiser on his Thresh. But again, I think it is a very good composition on paper, you have to say, if they can get their lanes going, which I hope the pocket pick from 2J's Elise will be able to do so. Otherwise, SAJ's composition looks like they could really just pile on to 1 or 2 people and, evaporate them off the battlefield.
The problem I believe Rofen's going to have going up against Graves as AD Terry is going to be that Jinx, throughout all stages of the game, will only be able to deal with Graves from a certain range.
Yeah.
Jinx will never be able to get up and close and personal with Graves, just because Graves will always be able to deal that little bit more extra damage through his burst, from his buckshot, his collateral damage, even his smoke screen will provide a bit more burst than Jinx can bring to the table. Sure. Jinx also relies on her minigun for her attack speed steroid, which puts her in range of Graves' auto attacks. At the same time, the zap is very, very slow, and her ultimate does more damage based on
out of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Our ultimate does more damage based on how far it travels and how low the opposition is. Graves' quick draw though gives him so much attack speed burst, and it gives him a reduced cooldown on that quick draw every time he auto attacks. So all he has to do is just E quick draw straight into Jinx's face, and Jinx can't.
That's right. I think we're as Fish's mic cut off right there. As you said, as he was finishing, he said, you know, there's not too much that the players of the Jakarta Juggernauts can do in certain situations, and I think that's rightly the story that we'll be bringing into this David and Goliath matchup. The Jakarta Juggernauts have picked a composition where, you know, they have to work really hard to make things work. Whereas on the side of the Saigon Jokers, even though we haven't seen, you know, Mundo all too often, these other champions, they have such clear strengths that they honestly don't have to work too hard to win, you have to feel. And of course, the mental game as well. These guys are sitting at the top of the table. Yes, only 2 points divide them from the two teams, you know, tied at second place, 7 to 9 points. But still, top of the table against a team that has yet to win, less a draw. You know, with arguably the easier composition to pull off, you have to think that SAJ are just going to be feeling far more confident to take this game.
Definitely. Saigon Jokers, after the Taiwanese teams have left the Green Premier League, they are definitely one of the favorites to lead the pack in the GPL and potential pick up the wins, or majority of the wins in the GPL. That is Jakarta Juggernauts, the newest addition to GPL. Hooked up.
Nyx Water, I mean,
takes quite a bit of damage, and he is Dr. Mundo. He will go where he pleases for quite some time.
He's a level 1 Dr. Mundo though, so it does get taken down to half HP. Nevertheless, nothing too crazy from either side. Whole bunch of wards being dropped down by the red side, you have to say. Jakarta Juggernauts, basically one entire line of wards dropped in the river, and 2 on the other side of Saigon Jokers. Deep wards actually coming in right here to get vision on 2J. You know, as you called it out, Fish, 2J on his Elise, considered pocket somewhat, especially in this meta. They definitely want eyes on him to make sure that he can't use that cocoon to jump into lanes, get them snowballing with a kill or 2. I think definitely this is how some of the, if you want, honestly, the lower tier teams can swing a game in their favor. Pick somebody off in the solo lanes and then get somebody really, really fed to just take over the game. But look at this, a lane swap coming out from both, or rather SAJ initiating a lane swap right there. Have vision of the enemy jungler as well, so they know what's up. I don't think Luffy will be able to get any CS right here, especially with Su zoning right here. Does have his boomerang. We'll have to see how many he can pick up with that though.
I do like the lane swap from the Saigon Jokers here because it's going to allow Nyx Water and Safety to invade into the jungle of 2, forcing him to go into the opposition's jungle. At least he's just not as strong as Jarvan is at level 2 and 3. So if he does get caught in the jungle at any point in time, it is a risk for Jakarta Juggernauts. At the same time, although Graves Janna is an incredibly strong lane, and so is Jinx and Thresh, they are going up against a Gnar who will not do well against the Graves Janna at all in the early stages of the game. Whereas Dr. Mundo, he's going to be following Safety around, farm it up with him, pick up a couple levels, and then he'll be able to easily tank up the damage and farm with his effective cleavers later on.
Yeah, I mean, you can see that being played out exactly right here. Luffy, I mean, yeah, he's got 2 CS, good job, buddy, but he's got a long, long way to go, and especially with the wave pushing away from him, man, this is a... I mean, he looks like a happy Yordle, that's just the character model, but really, there's gotta be a big frown on this guy's face, especially with the 2 members, the buddy system in the jungle coming his way. We do see Nyx Water backing right now, but honestly, I feel if they wanted to, they could try and force something here. Nevertheless, huge wave pushing in favor of Prince. He just wants to pick up that farm.
This is also where you see the inexperiencedness of Jakarta Juggernauts in competitive play. You can see how Saigon Jokers, they initiated this lane swap. Immediately, they sent Nyx Water to follow Safety and farm the opposition's jungle.
Yeah.
Jakarta Juggernauts, instead of copying what Saigon Jokers did, they decided to send Thresh to farm out with 2 in the opposition's jungle. As such, the top laner has lost out on both farm and experience, which Dr. Mundo was able to pick up by following Jarvan around.
And with that, he has gone back, picked up a ward for himself for that extra bit of safety. Didn't even need to TP down. Will be, look at that, already jumping up to a double CS lead of Luffy. So good job, Nyx Water, with the 6 CS against the 3. I mean, whenever we do have these lane swap situations, unless there's a dive, we're going to have a little bit slow of a start to a game. So I don't expect anything too explosive so far. In the mid lane, there was a little bit of trading back and forth, and I must say Apple doing a relatively good job to create even a small CS lead for himself. Of course, Azir scales fantastically into the game, and you have to say, if this game really goes to say, past 30 minutes, there is some fantastic scaling on the side of the Jakarta Juggernauts with both Jinx and Azir. But so far, in terms of the early game, looks like SAJ has got their strategy down, working to perfection.
Sure does seem like it. Jakarta Juggernauts wasted a lot of time as well. We saw Cruiser rotate around the map quite frequently there. He went bottom lane to top lane and roamed all the way back down to bottom lane once again without going back to base. You can see now he's only level 2 in the bottom lane, whereas Rofens here is level 4. That was interesting because Gnar support lane, it's not a uncommon lane that we see in competitive play when a 2-on-1 swap is forced against a Gnar.
Yeah.
He does have that range which a lot of top laners don't possess, and at the same time when he's comboed up with a support, when he turns into Mega Gnar, he can pack a decent punch at close range. Very surprised that we didn't just see Cruiser head back to base and go up to the top lane and farm it out with Gnar.
Yeah, I think that again can be attributed to the inexperience you were referencing just there. Luffy going back to lane, already gets chunked down, has to chug the HP pot and getting down to about half HP. Of course, Su himself not doing fantastically in the XP game, sitting around level 2 as well. But you have to say in terms of his impact, zoning out Luffy, definitely getting his team ahead. And already just in terms of the early game movements and the way they've been proportioning their champions in the lane, SAJ, it's a small lead of only 300 gold, but it shows the control that they have. They've also had eyes on 2J for a long amount of time, even though he's sitting in this bush of a pink ward. My goodness, they know he's been there due to the river ward. I think he should get caught out here, maybe burn a flash or two. Cruiser must flash away. That's 2 flashes, but but look at that. The Howling Gale flash, but they were within tower range. This could be turned around. Oh, it's going to be messy. It's going to be close. They trade 1 for 1 so far as Safety gets bouncing around a little bit, but this is here.
Luffy.
Still very weak. Luffy jumps in. It's very tiny Yordle though. Nothing that Saigon Jokers are all too phased about, and Apple sitting on only about 50 mana, so can't really do all too much.
2-0 trade in favor of the Saigon
Oh, look at that!
there.
Flash choppers
Jinx.
coming out from Rofens. Carrot doesn't have his flash anymore, trying to turn this around, but man, none of these champions really have the items in their inventory yet to close it on kills. So it looks explosive to start out with, but they don't have the numbers to quite crunch down on any kills just yet.
This is going to give Prince some time to reset this lane up in the top lane too. We saw the teleport. Collateral damage being used as well. He doesn't want to mess around in this top lane. He's going to reset the lane. No teleport up on Luffy, so he can't just get back to lane easily to farm it out. That was just simply 2 members of Jakarta Juggernauts being caught out. 2 and Cruiser definitely should not have been walking through the river. And we just see how dangerous it is to walk into a Jarvan as well. He didn't get the damage down, but he forced so many flashes coming out, and now he will steal the blue buff away from 2 on top of that.
Are they really going to let him just walk out like a boss?
Alright, currently he is. He dodges a zap.
Where was the flay and the... Oh, I'm not sure. I'm guessing he must have used them, just mistimed them. Man.
Safety just walks circles around them.
Like
Gets
a boss.
out for free.
Alright.
Just like the Scuttle Crabs do it.
Alright, so consolation prize right there for 2J. But Safety, you have to feel, definitely not living up to his namesake right there, going deep into the enemy jungle. Pretty much surrounded by 3 enemy members, but gets out for free. So get out of jail card used right there on the side of the Saigon Jokers. They come away with the blue buff, which honestly hurts Azir quite a lot, you have to say. Going for that Morella Nomicons means that he doesn't have that Chalice mana regeneration bonus. That has become a little more common, especially in the 5.1 patch when the numbers were tuned towards Athene. Ooh, look at that. Carrot a little bit on a roam right there. But Luffy, as Gnars do when they play safe, saveth, Old English, saveth his hop to get away. As skill shots being missed back and forth. 2J here, man. He's getting soloed out by a support right here. There comes the Chilling Smite, but you're fighting against the Jarvan. Oh, if that had hit right there. Oh, Luffy. My goodness.
Horrible choice coming out from Luffy there. Su is just going to walk circles around the team. Apple will get knocked up now as well.
Oh, there is the Emperor's Divide right in the little choke right there, but Apple says he can only mess around with the Emperor of the Sands for so long. Prince doing a good job 2v1ing right here. Still, or no, well, definitely has his collateral damage off cooldown, can explode somebody if he wishes. Chooses to play it safe, and yeah, look at that, a 13 or so CS discrepancy created from him by all the mid-roaming that Rofens did without picking up a kill for himself.
I think he might try. I have a strange feeling that Prince might try for a kill here, 2-on-1. He definitely has the damage to take down Cruiser. He just can't get hooked. If he doesn't get hooked, he won't be able to take him down.
That's it.
He's gone.
Yeah, I think really right there, a fitting time to bring in again how this is very much a David versus Goliath matchup, bottom of the table versus top.
That was simply Cruiser and Rofens not realizing Graves' early game damage potential.
And then not just that, I think the level discrepancy as well. Level 7, or was he already 8? I mean, even if he was 7, level 7 against 4, Thresh support against, you know, BF Sword, AD carry.
Definitely was
No, just no.
Definitely level 8 on Prince.
Man.
About that.
Yikes. So, Jakarta Juggernauts, jungle being taken away. Champions falling left and right here. You know, early game not even going their way in terms of the lane swap.
Not at all.
Nothing you could say really going in favor of the Jakarta Juggernauts. And SAJ, you know, I did worry for them a little bit when they were diving a little bit towards the tier 1 because Apple actually had his flash as well as his Emperor's Divide. But he didn't, you know, make any big flashy play that honestly might have actually turned that aggression on its head. SAJ just seemed to be getting away with a little too much, a little too often. You know, safety in the jungle surrounded by 3 people. Gets away scot-free.
I'm surprised Nick's water running.
Just watch, he's gonna steal the Gromp with his cleaver.
He's gonna try.
Oh.
No.
That's not where the Gromp is, buddy.
Nick's
Come on.
water. I'm surprised Nick's water got scared there. He's level 6. I don't see why he wouldn't be able to duke them out 2-on-2. 2-on-1, sorry, underneath this tower. He definitely has the summoners to do it. Oh, his ultimate's not up. That could be the reason why he decides to run back.
Yep, nevertheless, the information has been passed to the rest of his team saying, alright, 2J is top with his Elise. Make what you can of it, and they get the dragon. So there you go, 6% easy as pie. In the mid lane, we see a little bit of collapse on Apple, blinking health bars, and like that, 3-on-1, Pow, and Apple, man, without his flash, not able to get out of that.
Saigon Joker sitting on a comfortable lead. Like I said, David with the light. You just watch the way Saigon Jokers are putting pressure on the map. They have Dr. Mundo now sitting up in the top lane. There's no way for Gnar to take him down in a one-on-one situation.
No way, yeah.
Even if Elise comes up, it's going to be very hard for them to chain their crowd control to take down Nixwater at this stage in the game, especially with his chain vest complete. To the top lane, they don't have to worry about. Nixwater will always be available to teleport to any fight that takes place across the map. And then we see the Graves, who is currently level 10, has the BF sword. 13 minions, so almost 40 minions ahead of Jinx in terms of farm. He's gonna have so much money under his belt when he heads back to base next. And being Graves, he just has that disgusting burst damage that you don't see many attack damage carries pack.
Yeah, and I really think this is the issue we were discussing in the pregame as well. Just due to the fact, how did that cleaver hit Luffy?
Nixwater is a god.
In any case, really the problem coming in, especially with the Gnar being this far behind, yes, he has his giant spell now, is that the carries on the side, Rofens as well as Apple, the moment the collateral damage hits, you know, even if they don't die, they will get hit so hard in the face that they have to back off. Let's take a look here. Chompers dropped preemptively to deny safety as well as sue any kind of engage on them. But you can see with the mid tower taken down, Carrot very, very ready to make a rotation as well. Apple, to his credit, ready to collapse as well in case of any aggression. But so far, it's really just the flexing of the muscles, the dropping of the deep wards, SAJ exerting their dominance over the bottom side of the map because they know top side, as you mentioned earlier, Fish, down pat is theirs completely. Sue has been quite aggressive in his positioning in the jungle, but when you're this far ahead, why wouldn't you be?
Saigon Jokers. They are just putting on so much pressure that they've allowed Prince to just 2v1. And we saw earlier in the 2-on-1 situation, he was able to pick up a kill onto Cruiser in the bottom lane. So
Yeah.
Su, like you said, he's been able to get the team boards down. He's been able to head to the mid lane, assist his team. Even we saw there where Jarvan was roaming around with Janna, trying to get ganks off, because both of them have boots of mobility, trying to utilize Janna's passive in order for safety to close the distance and try and get ganks off in the bottom lane. Wasn't successful, but it just shows how much pressure they're putting on the map, and it's allowed him to roam around.
That's right, and it really just frees up the aggressive play as well. We can see when you have the deep wards on one side of the jungle and you spot, you know, some members other than, look at this, you just invade the other side, simple as pie for safety. I mean, this was the guy that went into the enemy jungle surrounded by 3 people and got out with the buff. When there's nobody on the other side, you can be pretty sure he's gonna get out anyways. Blue buff on the side of Apple, good job by Jakarta Juggernauts, if anything, to secure that for the Azir. And to his credit, has the 2 kills on his team so far, but really you have to say, many times we've seen now, deep into the enemy jungle is SAJ. They have such absolute control over the enemy's jungle. And it's really only a matter of time before they translate some of that power into taking the towers themselves as the... Well, not the final outer turret, that was an Azir turret that just dropped. The bottom one is still up for the Jakarta Juggernauts, but with the Infinity Edge picked up by Prince, as well as the red buff. You can imagine, that's going to go down real soon.
25% or 20% quick chance now.
Look at how far Rofens is standing back. He's like, one zap,
nothing
and then I'm out of here.
Well, if Prince gets 5 auto attacks off in a fight, which technically should give him 1 crit against Rofens, he wouldn't even need his collateral damage to take him down.
No.
Auto attacks alone would have been enough. Rofens can't even come close enough to get the zap up because Zap has such a long wind-up that Prince could effectively close the gap before it's done charging. Get the damage off onto Rofens that way. He's 2 levels ahead of Rofens. 4 levels ahead of Thresh as well.
Yeah,
this is time where he could be aggressive too, but he's just playing it very passive right now.
It feels a little bit like that situation where you go into a ranked game, you pick a scaling champion, and you get kind of dumped on in the other game. You're like, all right, let's just scale. You really have nothing else to do but sit back and try not to die. But that really isn't a strategy to win a game. So I think right here what we're seeing is a little bit of the delaying of the inevitable, if you will. I mean, really, the jungle has been taken multiple times by the Saigon Jokers. Dragon, I can only imagine, will be taken, without any sort of contest. And there you go, Observer showing us absolutely no vision in the Dragon area from the Jakarta Juggernauts. They're just going to pull this very fed Graves over and take that down in a matter of seconds. And without the static objective of the Dragon up and only 1 outer tier turret remaining, I do think that's where the Saigon Jokers will focus their efforts. As you can see, Nyx Water's like, alright guys, do whatever you want because I've got top lane on lockdown. Gnar, well, is lagging behind, and CS has picked up his Randuin's Omen. Maybe a little glimmer of hope to survive the initial onslaught as you see a flash pop from Apple. Wait, no, that wasn't Apple, that was 2J. Red HP bars blinking, scattering or skittering back to base, you have to feel. And there you go. Pressure topside means that... Oh, man. Oh, Luffy. Gotta get out of there. Has to burn his flash as well. Prince bottom side, I do think we might even be able to see a 2v1 here. Or he could just play it safe. Knows that Cruiser as well as Rofens are there. There's the play. Ooh. Oh, man. Oh, actually. Wow.
Gets it.
Rofens has the heal as well. Oh. Rofens.
Didn't take into account that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Still 2 for 1 in a 2-on-2 situation. 2-on-1 situation, and Rofens is taken down really low too.
Alright, and of course with 2 members occupied bottom side, it opens up a very strong push onto the inhibitor turret top side. Looks like the call from Jakarta Juggernauts is, Apple, you keep pushing. We'll do our best to hold off the inhibitor turret push, but not gonna work. Not gonna work at all. Don't think that Luffy will even be able to chain slow them with his boulders or boomerangs or whatnot. Jakarta Juggernauts picking up the scraps of whatever they can off the table of the Jakarta, or rather the Saigon Joker's feast. To their credit, have picked up 2 turrets in the space of only 1 being taken down. But oh man, Rofens now. Nyx Water, uh-oh. Ooh. Nyx Water doesn't have his ultimate. Oh, that's gonna be a kill. Alright. Little bit greedy coming in from Nyx Water.
Good teleport from Luffy to protect his attack damage carry.
That's 2 kills onto the hyper carry of Jinx. If anything, they've managed to close the kill score somewhat. Tower score not quite accurately being reflected because of the Azir tower being taken down. Nevertheless, cracking open the inhibitor top side at 19 minutes in, despite, you know, only a 2-kill difference, really does show that Saigon Jokers, maybe a little bit cocky with the teleport from Nixwater to try and solo out Rofens with double summoner still available to him. They are still very much in control of this game. Once again, the deep wards routine, they say, alright guys, we've got them under control. Really only need to find a pick, or even I think can just force a 5-on-5 top side and get the inhibitor. Let's see what the play will be. 2 pink wards deep in the right jungle of Jakarta Juggernauts. Prince will once again start pushing up bottom side, and of course they have the timing of Rofen's flash, so if they ever want to pile all the damage onto him, Immobile Jinx I expect to be fully blown up in the next team fight.
Saw a Reddit thread yesterday, which I read through.
Yeah.
About the Scuttle Crab.
Okay.
So you know when the Scuttle Crab dies, it gives a speed boost to the team that killed it, as Prince just destroys Luffy somewhere on the map.
You know, that's not even surprising anymore. I think we can continue on with the Scuttle Crab point.
Scuttle Crab.
Which might be more of a surprise. Yes.
So it gives a speed boost and vision of that area to the team that kills it.
Yep.
I realize I've been doing a bronze level mistake for the longest time.
Oh, you noob. What's that?
So if you look at the minimap now, you can roughly see how much vision it would give you at Dragon Pit. You can only tell by the minimap.
It's a small
So
circle.
it's a good size.
Yeah.
But I have been walking around the circle thinking that would dodge the vision when I try to walk past Baron Pit and Dragon Pit.
Oh,
Thinking that when I walk around the speed boost, they can't see me.
Okay, whoa, alright. Well, no flash onto Rofens, but somehow he manages to survive the front load burst. Oh, that's because he's all the way back. Prince trying to dash in for a whole bunch of damage. Doesn't quite find it. Emperor's Divide doing a good job to actually pushing back. There's the Gnar against the wall. Gets a double stun off. Luffy actually doing a great job to tank up in Mega Gnar form. Nixwater does manage to dodge the zap. Last bit of HP, he actually throws back a cleaver, but is... Oh, the clutch shield coming in. Oh, man. Snipes coming in left and right from both teams. Marksmanship, 10/10 for Carrot as well as Rofens. And a little bit messy right there. Yeah. So, a little bit messy right there from the, you know, the Saigon Jokers. Prince.
They still do get an inhibitor, and now all the inhibitor towers are down.
Pretty much just a little bit too much blood to the head of Prince right there, I think. Not quite respecting the Emperor's Divide coming in from... I think he flashed Emperor's Divide, if I'm not wrong.
I think
so that's a tough one.
Prince was in a very good position, but didn't take Emperor's Divide into account.
Yeah.
Other than that, he was where he should be as Graves.
You know, I think that's something that even professional players are trying to get used to. The hitbox of Emperor's Divide, because it kind of sweeps you.
Oh.
It's a bit silly, almost if you've encountered it yourself, if you've ran into it.
Makes you go boing.
Yeah, it's frustrating. It's
go the other way. Don't even bother.
It's quite frustrating to deal with. But Azir, you know, very high skill cap champion. I think it's great to fit into his kit. These kind of mechanically intricate skills. Nevertheless, as you pointed out, the inhibitor has been taken down in the mid lane, and top and mid have been exposed. So, you know, if you have to drop a few kills, never mind that. You've got a whole bunch of towers, a whole bunch of structures destroyed, as well as a massive gold lead, over 10,000 at 23 minutes in. You know, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I have to say it again. It really feels like the Jakarta Juggernauts are delaying the inevitable. You can see Apple really wanting to buy that zone control for his team, even going for the Rylai's. So far, Rofens with his positioning as well as his Rockets has been able to stay safe in the back and pick up kills, start dropping a kill himself. Chilling Smite onto Su. Will we see a Cocoon to potentially lock him down?
This is a good place for SAJ to fight.
Oh,
But Carrot is from top lane, so they want to get that inhibitor.
Yeah, it's down.
Bottom lane inhibitor is being pressured too. Next one is doing a good job with Luffy. Luffy taking lots of damage from Carrot, and there's too many minions to deal with.
Oof, that's a big kill right there.
Prince, yeah, no surprise. Popping people off. This should be game to Saigon Jokes actually. They're just going to waltz to the base. No big fight, nothing. They're just going to waltz in.
Yeah, I mean, that's
take the win.
You know, sometimes that's the anticlimactic finish when you've got 2 inhibitors down. You don't really need to force a team fight. Getting that one kill onto Rofens.
And when the other team just doesn't want to fight for it.
Yeah, I mean, they really have to make a do or die defense right now, but pretty much it's do and die nevertheless for the Jakarta Juggernauts. As the Saigon Jokers, you could say almost nonchalantly close out that game. 11-7. Man, you know, 12,000 gold lead. Many things that can be simply summed up in the fact that the Saigon Jokers really just outclassed their opposition right there.
Definitely, they definitely outclassed Jakarta Juggernauts. You could see they came into the game with a set strategy. They went for the lane swap. They made Dr. Moon to farm out with safety in the jungle, and they were able to pressure multiple points of Summoner's Rift at different points in the game. With Jakarta Juggernauts, the whole time they were on the back foot, they were reacting to the plays that Saigon Jokers were making, and they just weren't quick enough to counter